back to another episode with the Art of Football 365. This is Season 2, Episode 8, Segment 1. Today we're going to be taking a deeper look at the term accountability. Last Monday's episode, we looked at the term leadership and did a full examination of that word. And now we want to do the same for accountability and kind of just appreciate everything that word means when it comes to sports or even not in the sports world. Before we dive into that, I want everybody to Gronk spike the subscribe button, leave a like for as many times as Tony Romo calls out the play at the line of scrimmage, which honestly every play I feel like he's calling out. He's calling out run right, run left, so do that for us and leave a comment, just like Joe Buck does every time. Joe Buck, just like Troy Aikman does every time Joe Buck makes zero sense. All
You
right,
should have
so
that down pat by now.
I
Good
do.
Lord.
I should. But anyway, what I do have down pat is it's a Monday, so it's Mental Monday. So Gannon and I each got our quotes lined up, and I'll go ahead and give you guys mine, and we can talk about that, and then get Gannon's, and we'll dive right into the word accountability. So my quote it says, "If you are afraid of confrontation, you are not going to do very well," which is by the famous and very notable Bill Belichick. And to me, what that means is, I think it's life related. I think it's sports related. If you're afraid to go up and be a constructive critic and kind of just lay everything out in front of someone else and let them know that maybe they're not doing something wrong, but they're not holding themselves accountable, which is what we're going to talk about. But I think if you're willing to be that type of person who steps outside the box and kind of just tell someone, all right, hey, this isn't going the right way, I need you to step it up, or if it's related to mental health, if your mental health's not right and you're not willing to fix it, well, I'm here. I'm confronting you about this. I need you to get help. It's a word that's centered around being willing to be uncomfortable, being willing to discuss problems with other people without feeling limitation behind it. And I feel like it's very important to be a constructive critic and be willing to step outside your comfort zone. So that's what I got for this week's Mental Monday.
Yeah, for mine, excuse me. For mine is your mental health is more important than your test, the interview, the lunch date, the meeting, the family dinner, and the grocery run. Take care of yourself. It's pretty self-explanatory in that quote, but again, it's by Mental Health Awareness. It's an Instagram account that I follow. I follow a lot of quote accounts on Instagram because it's just a nice little quick reminder when you're just going scrolling through social media. But your mental health is obviously your most important because all those things that I just ran through, you got to have good mental health to go into those things with a good mindset. And if you don't, it's just going to be a ruin of your day, and it's just not going to be fun, and it's just not going to be worth your time if you're not mentally locked in. And that doesn't mean that you're going to have a good day every day, but that's when you needed to take a mental break. You need to take a mental health day where you just kind of just don't do everything and just do some stuff that eases your mind. If you like to play video games, you like to watch some Netflix shows, if you like to, whatever your favorite food is, go eat some of that. Just make sure that your mental health is important because it's a roller coaster. It's up and down every single day, and you just need to try and keep that as even keel as possible, so then it doesn't affect all your other stuff. So then you can be the most successful you can be at that 24/7.
Yeah, for sure. Both those quotes are very important when it comes to accountability, when it comes to mental health and making progress in your life. And before we get started, I just want to let you guys know I held myself accountable and I decided to stop looking homeless and got myself a nice little haircut. But all right. So what does the word accountability mean to you, Gannon? What does it mean when someone's holding someone accountable?
It's based it off of, last week when we talked about the leadership role. That's one of the biggest first things that a leader needs to do is hold accountable. Again, in a work situation, in a school setting, in an athletic setting, accountability is the biggest thing because, again, that's not just your 2 or 3 hours or your 7 hour work day. It's from when you wake up until you go to bed. It's just, you got to hold yourself accountable. That's kind of the first step in accountability because if you're not, everything else is just going to fall off. Again, like with the mental health stuff, the accountability, you just got to be able to take a deep breath and just realize what you're doing and what you need to do to get on the right path. And that's holding yourself accountable. Just getting up, telling yourself, instead of, a lot of people want to, when they go to sleep or about ready to go to sleep, they're going to plan out their next day and they're going to say, I'm going to do all this type of stuff, but then they don't do it. You're not holding yourself accountable. Sometimes I fall into that too. You want to get some more stuff than you're planning on, but you just don't. And that's what's improving yourself to be the best individual you can. But the accountability is huge because you got to have accountability with your schoolwork, because that's going to be what frames your life for the rest of your life when it comes to your job and all that. Accountability can be in the social setting with choosing the right people that you hang out with, getting around people that are only going to make you better and kind of with the same interests as you. And then on the athletic side of things, it's with the working out, the practicing, the everyday grind of just holding yourself so that you know that you didn't leave anything on the field. That's kind of what a quick rundown for me.
All right. So I noticed, or I heard, not noticed, but I heard you mention the word plan a couple times. And to me, what that means is plan is progress, and progress is accountability. If you're willing to have a plan, and you wake up every day, like you said, and you have a plan of attack, you have a purpose. Purpose is accountability too. If you have a purpose, you have a plan, it's going to create that progress and being able to hold yourself accountable. Holding yourself accountable is quite honestly very noticeable in the book that we did a book review on with Urban Meyer. He talked about living below the line or living above the line, and if you're willing to live above the line, you have accountability type behavior. And I don't think accountability is necessarily like, in a way, I don't think it's just a term. I think it almost is. It's like a practice.
Yeah, it's a lifestyle.
It has to be a lifestyle, because if it's not your lifestyle, you're always going to be below that line. And I think another prime example of it actually is the guy that I did my quote on, Bill Belichick. It's very noticeable that he has a culture of accountability installed in New England. And a prime example of it is Chandler Jones, who was a dominant pass rusher for the New England Patriots, playing a little bit outside linebacker, edge rusher. And Bill was willing to just part ways with him simply and trade him for a late round pick to Arizona. And he went on to have damn good couple years with Arizona the past couple years. And I think what that shows is, as a player, if you are not willing to buy into Bill Belichick's style of coaching, his style of leadership, accountability, just relying on yourself, relying on your teammates, if you're not willing to buy into that, he's going to show you the door. Like, blatantly put, you're gonna actually probably get kicked out that door. He ain't going to let you walk out that door. You're going to get kicked out that door. And when it comes down to the word accountability and being accountable to yourself, there's so much art within that word. Like, there's so much it's such a mental word, like, in a way. Like, without it, honestly, you don't have that purpose, like I talked about. Like, because if you don't have a purpose, then it's almost like, what am I doing? Like, why am I waking up every day telling myself I'm gonna run 5 miles and I'm gonna intermittent fast, and then I wake up and I go for a Coke, and I'm like, all right, lunchtime, maybe I want McDonald's. That's me. That's sometimes what I do. And it's you gotta be willing to look yourself in the mirror. Which, I mean, I'm on a Zoom call right now, so I'm technically kind of looking myself in the mirror, and I'm saying, all right, I'm not doing it right. I'm lying to myself.
Yeah.
If you don't hold yourself accountable, you're literally lying to yourself by telling yourself you're going to do something when you do the complete opposite. So I find that, like, the word literally scares the hell out of me, because when you hold yourself accountable, you honestly, like, nobody can touch you, nobody can mess with you, because you're willing to sacrifice things and put yourself and your intentions first. I think that's another word that's related to accountability is intention. What do you think, like, the word intention means when having intentions to go about being accountable?
No, you get first off, I want to go back to the one thing that you talked about with the mental stuff with accountability. In order to be accountable for yourself and others around you, you got to be mentally locked in for the accountability part to even just get to the and use the word and say that you're accountable, because you got to have the mental prep is kind of the thing that kind of kept coming to mind there is you got to have the mental prep in order to be accountable, because if you're not having the mental prep and doing the right steps to get there, then the accountability is going to go right out the door. And that type of stuff. It's every little thing. This word, I think, is going to probably be the biggest word that we cover in this segment and series that we're doing that touches on all facets of your life 100%, because it's little things, and the more outlook that we have as we get older, we're 20 years old, we're 2, 3 years out from being fully adults, living on our own, and eventually, starting a family and living across the world and that type of stuff, the accountability is huge, because if you want to have a family, you got to be accountable for them, because if not, you're not setting a good example for your kids, for your wife, for your husband, whatever it is. That type of stuff, you got to be able to set a good example, and that comes with being accountable. It's just little things about, I mean, for when you're having a kid, you got to show them to brush your teeth. I mean, you got to eat your vegetables.
It's
All those
basic
little,
stuff. It's
it's
basic stuff.
exercise. Taking the dog outside. If you have dogs, you're being accountable because you're being a dog owner. You're being a parent. It's all those type of things that it comes full circle. And if you don't do that and don't come full circle, then you're just not reaching your full potential, and that's just not a life that I know we both don't want to live. And somebody that wants to have any success in life, you don't want to live.
For sure. And uh, my ex football coach when I was a freshman, who is now, he was my 4 year baseball coach. He's now the athletic director of my high school. But he always had this little saying, and I feel like a lot of coaches preach it, but it's just a basic saying like uh, control the little things, do the little things, and it sounds cliche, it sounds basic, and it's like, well, why would I do the little things when we just need to score a touchdown to win this game? Uh, but people don't understand, within a touchdown, every teammate has to hold each other accountable to be able to make that touchdown even happen in the first place. The offensive line has to work together as a collective unit to understand their passing block concepts. The quarterback has to have the correct 3 step drop back, 5 step drop back, whatever it is. They got to learn how to wander throughout the pocket, go back and forth, slide, fix protection. Running back has to know what block he has to pick up if he's not running out of the backfield. Receivers have to know what routes they're running, and if they're running dummy routes or they're just running their DB off, they got to understand that and go full blow, even though they're not going to get the football. So that play alone is the art of accountability. Because without that play, without everyone doing the exact thing they just did to score that touchdown, one little mess up, which is one little thing, creates maybe an interception, creates maybe a fumble, creates maybe a 15-yard play that could have been a 40-yard play. It's all about those little things that become your habits for holding yourself accountable. And speaking of the term accountability, I'm going to hold all of our viewers accountable to check out our 3 sponsors: Driftless Quality Wear, 312 Beef and Sausage, and Bacher Auto Group. 2 of them are located in Freeport, Illinois. We got 312 Beef and Sausage, who makes the best damn food you will ever have. I can promise you that. And Bacher Auto Group, they sell some dope cars. I'm not even going to lie to you about that. So go check them out. And we also have Driftless Quality Wear, where you can look them up, find them on the internet. They're based out of Iowa. Use the code Football365 for 10% off anything at the checkout. All right, Gannon. So, what is your mental prep? How do you hold yourself accountable? Because you're a PO, and for anyone who doesn't know what that means, he's a pitcher only in college. So, what is your techniques you utilize to hold yourself accountable when you're up on that mound, or leading up to going out on that mound? What's your routine?
Yeah, so it starts when you get to the ballpark. With me, I kind of started earlier on during the day, because sometimes I'm more of a mind guy than a physical guy when it comes to athletics, which can be good or bad depending on what your situation is. But the biggest thing is just getting in a mental mind frame of seeing stuff. I'm a big video guy, so I know that if I'm pitching that day, or if there's a chance to pitch, I like to go back and watch some old highlights of myself of some old bullpens. They kind of just get the flow of my mechanics, and kind of those type of things to make sure everything's aligned. But the once you get to the field, it all comes down to your preparation, because your preparation is holding your body accountable, so that your body's gonna be able to allow to work all their muscles and that type of stuff to the fullest extent when you need to perform, and when it's game time, when a pitcher like me goes out and takes the mound. So that starts with just getting a full body workout, getting a little jog out to center field, just getting the body warmed up, going through a full dynamic workout, and then going through some arm exercises and shoulder stretches along with band work, make sure the elbows loose and all that type of stuff, and just getting a good rollout with the foam and that type of stuff, and then playing some good catch and just kind of working on not going too far out if I know that I'm pitching that day or have a chance to pitch, to make sure the arm's feeling good. And then once we close it back in playing catch, we're working on different pitch grips, the off-speed changeup grips, the curveball grip, those type of things. And then The rest of that time, being a bullpen guy is just trying to stay mentally locked in as possible because you don't know when your name's going to be called. That's the hard part of it. When you're at a baseball diamond or a facility or a ballpark, whatever you want to call it, for maybe 8-9 hours a day for some games, it could be in that eighth hour of the time you're at the field that, oh crap, you got to go get loose. And then you're going to do a shortened version of all those types of stretches and all that, and then get on the mound and get going. But the biggest thing is just getting in a good mindset that you feel comfortable enough to succeed with your talents. Because the biggest thing that I tell myself is the talent and all that's already there, because you wouldn't be in the position that you are today without having the talent. Because we wouldn't be able to be on the team, you wouldn't be able to play college baseball, you wouldn't be able to play those good guys if you didn't have the work and the prior body of your numbers and all those types of things. So I mean, it's a lot of different stuff, because I know a lot of people are different on my team. Some of the other pitchers really do some different types of stuff. Pitchers are definitely different guys when it comes to baseball, but everybody has their own little things. And with me, I'm still finding out some stuff that clicks every day. One day you might think something's feeling good, and the other day it's not. You're kind of just finding that happy medium. But again, that the biggest thing is the prep. Definitely is the physical and mental prep when you get there, because that's holding yourself accountable. So then once you're out there on the field, you don't get let down, because then you're like, well, then your prior work and your accountability for getting ready to go is just not good enough then.
Yeah, for sure. And you mentioned two words now that actually stick out to me a lot. It was earlier when we were talking and just now. And those two words are plan and preparation. And what I think it comes down to is I think you need a plan for life, and I think you need preparation to be successful in sports. I think the two words kind of run together, but a plan for life is how you hold yourself accountable by giving yourself that momentum and that practice of every single day, repetition, repetition. And then I think when it comes to holding yourself accountable in sports, you need the word preparation. Because it is those little rituals that you do before a game that get you ready, that get your mind right. Because sure, your body needs to be physically ready to go to play a sport. Every sport's going to be physically demanding in its own way, but at the end of the day, the most important part about being ready and prepared to play in a sport, in an event, is your mental game. How well are you prepared mentally? Because if you're not prepared mentally, you're not going to be able to hold yourself accountable. You're not going to be able to hold your teammates accountable by any means. You're just going to be pretty much a stick figure out there walking around going through the motions. And I think that's another. Everything's just coming off the dome right now. But going through the motions, that's a topic I want to touch on, because if you're going through the motions, then like those are players that stick out to me a lot, because they stick out like sore thumbs. You know when a player's going through the motions, and so let's come up with an example, and then I'm going to ask you how you think we could solve this. So say one of your teammates is going through the motions, and he's just lackadaisical out there, and like you can tell. Maybe coach can't tell, but like as a teammate, this player's not giving everything they got, and they just simply don't care at the time. So how do you hold them accountable? What do you do? What do you say to them, and what's your
Yeah,
plan of action with that situation?
that's a lot of things that I pride myself on, is being the best teammate I can. One of the big things that I do every day when I see my guys, I say what's up to them. Then I always ask them how they're doing, how their day going, because I generally want to know what's going on. How they're feeling and those type of things. And then once you see somebody that's just going through the motions, there's usually one or two things. They got something that's off the field that's bugging them, and and it's hard for them to focus and stay locked in on their task at hand, or they're down in the dumps because something's not going right on the athletic field. And those are the biggest things that you got to determine: is it an off the field or on the field issue? And then after that, then you got to kind of dive into fix that. If it's some off the field stuff, some mental stuff, if they're having family problems, if they're having friend problems, relationship problems, you need to address that and be able to talk about it. I mean, this hints back to our mental stuff about talking. It's only going to clear the air and ease their mind a lot more when you're talking about it and helping them get through it. Then the other type of way that we could get through it is with the athletic stuff. What's going wrong and why are they not 100% locked in? And there's different ways to do that. For the physical side, you can do some different types of drills, for position guys or pitching guys to work on some stuff. But it's being able to flush those bad negative thoughts as quick as you can, so then you can get locked back in and think of what you're doing right, instead of always focusing on what you're doing wrong at that moment. so then those positive things can turn into your overall success. But another thing I want to touch on before I pass it back to Bryce, a lot of the stuff we talk on, me and Bryce aren't pros at all. I mean, we got problems that we're going through with this type of stuff. It's an everyday grind, because some people might take it the wrong way, that we think that we got it figured out and that type of stuff. We're not. I mean, this helps us because it motivates us to get going to another level, because
And it's dialogue. It's
yeah,
dialogue. It's us talking about our problems. It's us talking,
yeah,
opening up and examining what we think about life. And
it's
sports.
everything. It's back and forth. There's so much stuff that you're never going to get to a perfect individual or most well-rounded person that you can be. You're always got something that you need to work on, and we just feel like we need to relay this so that more people can hear it.
Yeah, for sure. And I think another situation I want to talk about before we kind of wrap this one up is, how do we handle the discussion of playing time? Because that's an issue with coaches worldwide. That's an issue with players and parents worldwide. It's always going to be an issue, honestly. But how do we limit those issues? For me specifically, wanting to coach, how do I limit an issue like that? What do I do to have my teammate, or have my the kids on my team? How do I have them hold each other accountable to the point where they are willing to accept that role? Like, which we touched on past couple episodes ago, was how do you get a player to buy into his or her role, and how do you prove that point effectively without damaging a player's mentals and ruining their playing career by kind of just placing them on the bench and saying you're just
Yeah.
not good enough? How do we hold our players accountable to the point where they're understanding of their role? How do we do that?
There's a couple different things. The big factor of this, before I talk on a little bit more of it, is the winning culture of your team. If there's more winning going on, then it's going to be a lot
Less
easier.
problems.
The winning's going to erase a lot of the issues. But sometimes you don't have control of that, especially if you're a new coach or somebody that's just getting into the coaching profession as a whole. But the biggest thing, in my opinion, is treating everybody the same, from the star number one player on whatever team, whatever sport you are, all the way to the very last guy that barely snuck on the roster, that that you don't have a whole lot of confidence in. But you got to treat them the same way as you treat everybody, because if not, you're already going to feel that shift in power and struggle with those high class guys and those low class guys. Just because people already know it talent wise. People aren't dumb. You can evaluate talent pretty easily, but just making everybody feel like they're one team and one unit and one family. That's the biggest thing for me. And then also is giving them some stuff, the people that aren't playing. Hey, work on this, work on that. You're going to maybe start seeing some different types of stuff once we get into game action. And then in blowout games, if you're getting beat, if you're winning by a lot, give them in that bag. Let them go play special teams. Let them get on one series, whatever side of the ball it is. Let them do some different types of stuff. And then also with some of the bench guys, give them something to do during the game. Just don't let them sit there and make them be the biggest cheerleader, because that's cool to have all that type of stuff and you need that energy, but you also want to be locked in when you're there, so you don't kind of feel like you're wasting your time being there. And those are little different types of stuff depending on your different types of sports you're playing. But like you said, this problem's never going to go away. It's because you're only going to basketball. You're playing 5 guys. There's 11 guys on the side for football. There's only 9 people for baseball.
It's really just all about how you limit it. How do you
Yeah,
limit the issue?
and those are those things, those 3 or 4 things that I've touched on are probably the best things in my eyes that you can do it. But what are some of the ways that you think that you're going to try and do it when you start coaching? Because it's hard. It really is, because you feel for the guys that aren't
Or it
playing
will be,
when they're working their butts off every day and they're not getting any results or action.
Yeah, so I've kind of touched on this in the past, and I think everybody is starting to learn my style of how I want to coach and manage my team. But I think for me, the most important thing of being able to limit issues on a team, I feel like I need to get to know my players individually. I feel like at the beginning of a season, it's more important. If I'm coming in as a first year head coach, I don't want to instantly embrace this team motto, because we are a team and we will install that, and players will understand that we worked as a collective unit and we move together.
It comes with time.
It does. And I also think the first thing you as a new head coach need to install, you need to sit down with players individually and literally have one-on-one discussion with them. Let them understand, open up to them, tell them about you, let them listen. Because, and also on top of that, give them the chance to talk. because most of the time throughout a season, players don't really necessarily get the time to talk. They always have to listen. And that comes with the fact of the old style of coaching, drill sergeant style coaching. That's all the players got to ever do was listen. When did they ever get to express how they feel, express what they want to play? Like, that's what I want. I want to be able to go into a meeting, one-on-one meetings with each player to start the season. Just straight up ask them, where do you see yourself playing? What position? Why do you see yourself playing there? And just give me the why.
Yeah.
Give me how you've got there. If you're, I mean, obviously there comes with restrictions where if you're a 250-pound kid who plays 1A football and wants to play quarterback, then yeah, we're gonna have a different conversation. It's gonna be like, okay, well, we gotta understand you're not gonna play quarterback. This has nothing to do with your skill set. It's just not gonna happen. But there's also players that would love to be heard. And I feel like once you establish those relationships, your players are going to play for you. They're going to hold each other accountable because they understand what the culture is going to be like. It's going to be individual based with the coach, one on one, but at the same time, the team is going to be moving fully together forward. We're not going to stop. We're going to keep working as a team. And I feel like that's how you install accountability within a team is by getting to know all of your players one on one. Learn their strengths, learn their weaknesses, uh, even try to establish a relationship with some of their parents, like their role models in their life. Try to get involved with those people. Get involved with as many people in the community as you can, and that's what I want to do. I want to be a figure in the community that people look at and they're like, all right, this guy cares. He wants to know these people. He wants to know who they are and why they are that person, and help them better themselves. And I feel like that's I want to be
Yeah,
accountable like that.
you're 100% right. The relationship part, 'cause that's kind of what I touched on at the beginning when I said that from treating the worst to best player all the same. That personal relationship is going to go a long way than just the playing time and all those stats and all that cool stuff. Then the moment seems like the bigger picture, but that relationship that you're going to hopefully build for the rest of your life with your coach and with your peers is going to be way bigger and better when it comes to your accountability for your schoolwork, your workouts, and then eventually when you go get a job into the real world, those personal relationships are gonna be what creates a foundation for success when the winning and all the on the field stuff will come later on.
For sure. All right. Well, honestly, I feel like we touched on the word accountability pretty dang good. So I'm gonna let you
Yeah.
go ahead and wrap this one up, and we're excited for you guys to see what we have coming this Friday with another awesome special guest lined up, which will be released on Wednesday, and we'll be right back on schedule with Monday, Friday drops 11 a.m. And then we're already to episode 9 next week. So season 2's been flying by. So I'll let Gannon
Yeah,
wrap
for
this one up.
sure. But yeah, like Bryce said earlier, we got to hold you guys accountable now, our listeners, to keep running everything up viewership wise,
Keep listening.
subscription wise on YouTube, likes, dislikes. If you really don't like it, give us a thumbs
Dislike
down.
it. It
We
is
want
what
to
it
see
is.
it. We want to see what, and that comes back to the feedback part. That's the biggest thing we want to keep seeing. I really want to shout out Peyton Shockey because he's given us a couple good feedback, some really good paragraphs that he's texted us in a group chat 2-3 months back when we started season 2, and now we're all the way through season 2 now with our 8th episode. He's given us really good feedback, and he's asked us questions based off our material that we've talked about on the podcast. But shout out to Peyton because that's the stuff we really want to have, is that personal relationship with you guys and the communication, because that's going to help the people and our viewership grow on their own personally and with their lives and also with our lives and our podcast. But we'll catch you guys next week. Until then, keep catching up on some of our past videos. Make sure you keep liking, viewing, subscribing to our YouTube channel, and also leave us a comment, just like we talked about for the feedback. So, but again, thanks for the support, Bryce and I. We love it, and we're going to keep it up for you guys.
Appreciate it. We'll catch you guys Friday. Gronk spike the subscribe button.